Nami grew up in a village occupied by pirates. She watched them take everything. Food. Money. Lives. She watched the woman who raised her die in front of her eyes at the hands of a man who felt nothing. From that moment, Nami built a wall. Not a metaphorical wall. A real, calculated, deliberate system of survival. She smiled at men to manipulate them. She stole from them before they could steal from her. She used them as tools and discarded them before they could become threats. Every single man in her life had taught her the same lesson. They take. They hurt. They leave. And Nami learned that lesson perfectly. Until one complete idiot in a straw hat showed up and broke every rule she had built to survive. This is not a love story. This is the story of a woman who stopped trusting the world, and the one person who gave it back to her without even trying. Let's start at the beginning. Nami's backstory is one of the darkest in the entire series. And One Piece has dark backstories. She was a child who loved drawing maps. Curious. Creative. Full of life. Then Arlong came. He didn't just occupy her village. He made her a deal. Buy back her village for 100 million berries. And until then, draw maps for him. Maps that helped him conquer more towns. Hurt more people. Nami spent years doing exactly that. Smiling at Arlong. Pretending to be on his side. Stealing money from every person she met and handing it to the man she hated most in the world. She did this alone. For years. No help. No backup. No one to trust. Because every time someone tried to help her, Arlong destroyed it. He took her money. He killed the people who got close. Nami learned that letting someone in didn't protect her. It put them in danger. So she stopped letting anyone in. Now let's talk about how Nami treated men specifically. Look at her behavior in the early arcs. She lied to Luffy constantly. She stole the Going Merry. She betrayed the crew to Buggy. She manipulated every man she encountered with a smile and zero guilt. This wasn't cruelty. This was armor. Every manipulation was a test. Every lie was protection. If she controlled the situation, if she was the one doing the using, then nobody could use her first. She was always 3 steps ahead. Always calculating. Always ready to run. This is what years of surviving alone does to a person. And then she met Luffy. Here is what makes Luffy different from every man Nami had ever met. He cannot be manipulated. Not because he's smart. Because he genuinely doesn't understand the game she's playing. When Nami tried to use Luffy, he just looked at her confused. When she lied to him, he believed her completely and moved on. When she pushed him away, he came back anyway like nothing happened. You cannot manipulate someone who doesn't have an agenda. And Luffy had no agenda. He didn't want anything from Nami. He didn't want her maps. He didn't want her gratitude. He didn't want her to be anything other than exactly what she was. For a woman who had spent years reading every man's hidden motive, Luffy had no hidden motive. That was terrifying. And then slowly, it was everything. Now let's talk about the moment. You know the moment. Arlong Park. Nami has been exposed. Everything she built is collapsing. 8 years of pain and sacrifice and loneliness is breaking open all at once. She is on her knees stabbing her own arm. Trying to cut out Arlong's tattoo. Trying to destroy the mark that 8 years of slavery left on her body. And Luffy walks up. Takes off his hat. And puts it on her head. He doesn't say I'll save you. He doesn't say it'll be okay. He doesn't make a promise or a speech. He just gives her the most important thing he owns. And says one word. Help me. Not I'll help you. Not trust me. Not you're safe now. Help me. He made her the one with power in that moment. He asked her for something instead of offering something. He treated her not as someone who needed saving but as someone whose choice mattered. Nami spent 8 years with no choices. Luffy gave her one back in 10 seconds. And here is what nobody talks about. After Arlong Park, Nami never manipulated Luffy again. Not once. She manipulates everyone else constantly. She hits Luffy. She yells at him. She calls him an idiot more times than anyone can count. But she never lies to him. She never uses him. She never plays the game with him that she plays with everyone else. Because Luffy is the only man in her life who never gave her a reason to. That wall she built over years of survival, Luffy walked through it without even knowing it was there. Let's talk about what Nami does when things get truly terrible. Not the fights. Not the adventures. The real moments. When Robin was taken by the world government, it was Nami who refused to accept it first. Who said we're going to get her back before anyone else was ready. When the crew was scattered after Sabaody, Nami was alone on a sky island full of enemies and she kept moving. When Luffy was broken after Marineford, it was Nami's voice among the crews that carried the most grief. Watch how Nami reacts when Luffy is in danger. Really watch it. This is not a navigator worried about her captain. This is a woman who found the one person in the world she cannot afford to lose. And the most devastating part is, she knows it. And she says nothing. Because Nami has spent her entire life protecting the things she loves by pretending she doesn't love them. So let's put it all together. Nami grew up learning that men take and destroy. She built a system of manipulation and distance to survive. She trusted nobody and had every reason not to. Then a boy with no agenda and no hidden motive walked into her life and broke every pattern she had. He didn't save her by being strong. He saved her by being completely, impossibly, genuinely himself. And Nami, the girl who mapped every sea and calculated every risk and never let anyone pass the wall, let him in. Not with words. Not with a confession. Not with anything dramatic. Just by stopping the game. Just by being real with one person for the first time in years. That is the most honest love story in One Piece. And Oda has been drawing it in the background for 1,000 chapters without ever saying a single word about it directly. If this made you feel something, subscribe. Because the next video is about the other side of this story. About a swordsman who watched all of this happen from 3 feet away. And said nothing. For 1,000 chapters. Subscribe. You already know who I'm talking about.